Now over to the question of this might get us in trouble a little bit, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Is because you talked about data being just as important as say like the AI models or like the infrastructure. A couple of years ago, not a couple of years, it might have been just last year, the federal government of Canada proposed, I think, $2.4 billion of investment into AI, and a vast majority was into in infrastructure. And a couple of your maybe contemporaries at the University of Waterloo recently wrote a Globe and Mail piece about how a lot of that $2.4 billion is a little bit obsolete now, the investments that we made, because we are invested in chips and in infrastructure. And they said that in a comparison, if you compare Canada, how much we spent, that $2 billion versus like Meta. Meta is a private organization that Meta already spent $30 billion. That so their point was like that this is not what we should spend money on. It's trying to win a race on infrastructure. We will never win that race. And you bring up the point of data. Let's say you, Shirin, magic wand. Costas has a magic. He's the genie, and he gives you a wish, and he makes you the czar of that $2.4 billion. Like how would what from your perspective would actually help the Canadian ecosystem if you could be able to allocate that $2.4 billion? What would you have spent that money on?
I think I would spend that money on, so depending, when you say infrastructure, infrastructure can mean different things. So I would spend that on hospital infrastructure to be able to extract data. So I would do exactly do what we are doing here at a pilot level at the Jewish General Hospital at McGill. Right now, we are trying to extract data in collaboration with Exactis for 1,000 patients who donated their data from all hospital um, portals. And I would put in place um, infrastructure so that we can extract data for all patients, both retrospectively and prospectively, and clean the data, anonymize, and then add them to a database. So that's what I would do. When it comes to the other type of infrastructure that you were talking about, buying GPUs and chips and whatnot, I would invest in it was called Compute Canada, is now called the Research Alliance Canada. It is a pan-Canadian clusters that I've used since I came to McGill, and when I did also my postdoctoral fellowship um, at Université Laval. It's funded by Canadian government, and one of the best fund. What I think when it comes to public money, it is one of the best investments Canada has made for us researchers, because we have access to CPUs and GPUs. We can ask to get access very easily, and we are supported. They have very highly qualified personnel hired in this clusters that can serve us. So for that, Canada has already put in place plenty of clusters across Canada. Obviously, with this very high demands of GPU, we could collectively again um, uh, add to these clusters from all provinces. But I think the moral of the history here is that we cannot do um, we cannot work in single islands anymore. So when it comes to big data and AI, we need to collaborate. So we need to collaborate across Canada, um, automating um, our data collection. We have to have a common database, pan Canadian database, and we have to um, collectively invest in infrastructure for training. So again, when it comes to training, some people can train on cloud-based systems. I still prefer um, Research Alliance of Canada, so the previous Compute Canada. So I think I would invest that money. It wouldn't probably last long. This 240 or whatever million it was, but at least it could maybe help us to build an infrastructure for collecting data. So I would totally invest that money in collecting data and putting um, automatic systems across Canada where we would just it could be a influx of data to our databases, and then our researchers would um, apply for local REBs to be able to use the data. So that is number one. And then number two, we would work together again across Canada. All provinces have to fund common clusters um, to be able to then train on this data. Because as you know, again, there are strict rules on uploading data into cloud-based system for training and so on. Most of this clusters that we have at Compute Canada or Research Alliance of Canada, that is called now, we have local ones in each province. So we have those in Quebec, in BC, in Toronto, but we can also use each other's clusters when they are not used by the researchers in that province. So it's a very collaborative system already put in place, funded by Canadian government.